The thought for today is God bless you or GEZUNDHEIT. Does it even make a difference in pandemic crisis in the Commonwealth of Virginia, where faith and worship is a non-essential business? Let's keep that thought with us as we join here in virtual worship and fellowship today. Praise the Lord out there in virtual church on live stream land. And welcome to Pandemic Science with the Faith God. I'm your host, another guy from Jersey. Let the church say social distancing. Let the church say social distancing again. We are not being entirely facetious. That's one of those big educated words we don't generally find in Jersey. But it has all of the vowels, A-E-I-O-U. And who doesn't like a vowel, right? Did I get a vowel? Anywho, we are not being entirely facetious with this remark, because it was the policy of the social distancing that found us actually in a courtroom with an actual case of the, well, you know. I can't use bad words because this is a faith show. And the judge looks at us and looks at our big fancy legal brief that we put together, you know, with tabs and, you know, briefs, with biggest words we could find. And she just slapped us down and pointed us to a website for our edification to tell us exactly why we can't go to mass like all good Catholics do, or go to church and thump our Bibles as the evangelical Christians tend to do. Shout amen. Stomp your feet. If it works, go with it, I say. I just work here. I'm just another guy from Joyce. So being obviously stupid, you know, what was I thinking? For trying to sue the government during a pandemic crisis? We decided to be smart, you know, like everybody else. We went to the website, the CDC website, the official website, to learn about this topic that everyone else seems to know except us. Don't I feel stupid? And this was what we found out about what the government, the Centers for Disease Control, in fact, and the name tells you that these guys must know what they're talking about, right? Well, the CDC says, and I quote, the virus is thought to spread mainly from person to person. Okay. Anyone having trouble with that? I'm good. Poison to poison. The animals are safe. So let's move on. Ready? Here we go. Next paragraph. Between people who are in close contact with one another, open parents within about 6 feet, closed parents, period. And that is pretty much as far as the judge wanted us to read. No close contact, 6 feet, like a fly, a bug, whatever. 6 feet, too easy. Now, poisonally, I would think a smart pastor, a priest, a rabbi, an imam could figure out in his head, hat on or not, how to get a declining membership. Remember, churches have fallen off with 12% the past decade, with even less attending church regularly on Sunday, into a big old empty church building and keep everyone who actually shows up on Sunday at least 6 feet apart. Just like an essential business does, with people showing up late, you know, going to get coffee, does every day during a pandemic crisis. And even apparently restaurants were now able to sell you a mixed drink to go. Imagine that. Pandemic crisis really ain't all that bad. You can go pick up mixed drink, you're on your way. So you can go off alone like an alcoholic and drink your Bloody Mary by your darn self. Yeah, we must assume. Good policy. And Ralph is a doctor, you know. But we decided, in our stupid mind, to delve further into this apocryphal scripture of science. getting down to the minutiae, a little exegesis into science, venturing down to the next paragraph below where the judge wanted us to go, below this 6 feet, thou shalt not commandment. And now this is not just another guy from Joyce, but the CDC saying this. And again, I quote, through respiratory droplets produced when an infected person coughs, sneezes, or talks. On the website, this is a phrase, or at least it looks like a phrase to me, but it begins with a capital letter. But that doesn't look like it says, it looks like a phrase. And I ain't the sharpest pencil in the box, but I'm assuming that they are explaining that whole 6 feet that we saw above, close person thing that came above. So let's put those thoughts together. Thoughts that the judge didn't want us to have together for one reason or another, but we're gonna put them together, just so we can kind of understand what is going on in this pandemic crisis. Shall we? Does that sound good? Okay, the virus is thought to spread mainly from poison to poison, pause, between people who are in close contact with one another, open parens, within about 6 feet, close parentheses, through respiratory droplets produced when an infected person coughs, sneezes, or talks. And moving on to the next verse, it says that these droplets can land in the mouths or noses of people who are nearby or possibly be inhaled into the lungs. So, we got ricochet virus here, you're doing their own thing, they're going to leave your mouth and then suddenly, go run all over. Let's find out what's going on here. It seems very important knowledge for understanding the scripture the court provided us in brief form. So call me stupid, but I could understand the whole droplets concept because I've been out in the rain at least once in my life. Had football games canceled because of rain droplets. Been there. I think I got that down. No problem. Some liquid stuff in the air. Move on. But the action appears to be the most important thing. Like the verb, the action word. Understand why I'm suddenly in danger within 6 feet of another human being. And not having sex. So again, call me stupid, but I actually had to look up cough and sneeze and even talk to find out how this affects these droplets. So we can all get our heads around this, like what is it about this action that changes the character and nature of these droplets to make them harmful to me? I wanted to know that. I thought that was important because, check yourself, protect yourself. For review, we have at least 2 people less than 6 feet apart. And one of them is in danger because one of them might get trigger happy and sneeze or cough or maybe even talk and infect the other person with a deadly pathogen. Oh my. So just looking at that problem set, smart guys say, between 2 people for simplicity's sake, we have to assume that these droplets are definitely going to shoot out the mouth or nose of somebody else, and land in your mouth or nose. Kind of like playing like highlight, But how about if we're seeing through a glass darkly and not face to face? Am I in danger if I am behind you in a pure church? Is your neighbor in danger when you address and say, the preacher is talking to me? Anybody outside the kill zone inside this, scenario? I want to know, I don't know. I tend to be less scared coming up behind the guy with the gun than approaching him, with the barrel pointed at me. But that's just me. I don't know. Maybe, you get freaked out about the smallest thing and maybe you need to just stay inside. But, hey, again, I'm just another guy from Joyce. For this faith science, we have to look at why we cough and sneeze. And what we discovered like the smart folks already know, of course, is that both a cough and a sneeze are a natural defense mechanism. And if you ever learned Heimlich maneuver, took first aid with the Boy Scout, whatever, you should understand that both a cough and a sneeze is your body's way of saying that something is trying to choke me, cut off my oxygen, make me die. And so, in evolution, it's that Darwinian thing, natural selection, or by the creator, gift of God the eternal, if you prefer, in faith. We were created with this pretty powerful defense mechanism that enables our bodies somehow, without even thinking, to identify that COVID-19 is in our bodies. We can't even see COVID-19, and it needs to get out, or what a doctor calls symptomatic infection. Is that not amazing? That's amazing. Bodies just do this by themselves. Personally, I find that quite amazing. The virus, the most abundant biological particle in the world, which is so small that scientists could not even see this invisible enemy. We've all heard about the invisible enemy until two scientists independently found them under a powerful microscope in 1892 and 1898. They were working separately. Suddenly got decided, maybe I need to look into this. Maybe I need to do some homework. Maybe I need to stop believing what people tell me and find out for myself. This is what they did. This is how they found these viruses. And around that same time, Madame Curie was discovering X-rays. She was like, I don't care what you think. I'm going to find out for myself. And guess what? Now how the world has changed. I don't know. My science book says our amazing body somehow anticipated that these invisible enemies would show up and try to hurt us all by themselves. And maybe all by themselves, they evolved into a defensive line to stop even a pandemic pathogen. And even more amazing is that because of this strategic defense system, like Ron Reagan was going to do with the missile, there are only now 220 viruses that can't do us any harm at all. Maybe that's why we call it the wonders of science, because I'm still wondering how that could have happened all by itself, I mean, that's freaking amazing. So let's look at the capabilities of this Defense Department. Did you know that if you have a chronic cough, you could even increase your blood pressure? The silent killer. Yeah, chronic cough. Boom, boom. Here we go. Yes, that is what science says. Did you know that even though there is more abdominal pressure, down there, in the gut, created when you sneeze, and some of you fellas know what I'm talking about, that when you cough, there is really no statistical difference between a sneeze and a cough. Because physiologically, I like that word, physiologically, it's a doctor word, physiologically these defense mechanisms are trying to accomplish the same thing, but in different locations of your body. Very, very complex. They have to use the assets that are already available to them. They can't call up Donald Trump and say, hey guys, we got a COVID crisis. They got to figure it out for themselves. It's amazing. And they do all of that without telling the brain that a novel coronavirus has emerged. Some recent studies have suggested that COVID-19 may spread by people who are not showing symptoms. That's pretty amazing stuff, right? But get back to that. So, we went to another science resource on the internet, and we learned that a typical cough, listen to this now, a typical cough starts with a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Hold it. Because it is like your body issuing a preparatory command. There's a soldier who knows about that. And that is followed by a compression of air in the lungs. Getting ready to fight tonight. And then a crackling burst as that air is forced out in a fraction of a second. Not even a second, a fraction of a second. 3 independent actions happening in our bodies about which we are not even thinking. Because the neighborhood watch group in our throats, or larynx, as the otolaryngologists say, detected a suspicious poison pooping around, snooping around. It shouldn't be there. Who's that fella? You need to get. And this 3-part sequence, 3-phase attack sequence, actually expels enough air to fill up 3/4 of a Mayor Bloomberg 2-liter soda box that shoots out a jet stream forward for several feet. That's your, 6 feet scientific government guidance. And that stream of almost 2 liters of air, whether it is COVID-19, a common cold, or a dust particle, there are about 3,000 droplets expelled by one cough, moving at a speed of about 50 miles per hour. That is pretty amazing, pretty complex, without thinking. So this is why, even if you don't have a pandemic crisis, just to not toss 3,000 droplets measuring less than 100 microns, which is very, very small, into your friend's face in front of you, it may be respectable to cover your mouth when you feel that cough or powerful sneeze coming off. Okay, true, he's not going to see it. Well, he's probably going to see the cough or sneeze. I hope he's going to see that. Or maybe, I don't know, he's vegging out or smoking. I don't know. But just cover your mouth. I mean, that's a good idea. Be nice, be respectful, be sensitive, have some feelings. And way before COVID-19, fluid dynamicists, that's like a super scientist working with models, sexy, determined that the most of these droplets measuring less than 100 microns, so small that the eye cannot even detect them, just follow the laws of gravity. Boom! After riding the trajectory of a projectile shot from your mouth during a cough at speeds of up to 50 miles per hour, they just hit the ground. Never get an idea. He's up, he's seen, he's down. And only a few, like measles, the most infectious virus in the world, of all time, can just hang around in the air. Because they are so small and so light they can remain airborne, but again, somehow, and this is really, really amazing, somehow they evolved, all by themselves with a self-destruct mechanism and become unable to harm human beings after only 2 hours. And poisonally, I believe that is a very respectable thing for a deadly virus to do for a poison, especially without a mind to be kind, literally. Some call it providence, some call it serendipity. It's all academic. But the big thing, which is why even though without a pandemic crisis, we tell you to stay at home and not risk infecting others when you just cough, each one of those 3,000 droplets may contain up to 200 million viruses. 200 million! 200 million! That's like the entire United States! But tiny. So small you can't see it. It's like that Dr. Seuss, be kind to your soul. But 200 million. Now, looking at that fact, I'm doubting that a bandana is going to beat the infection against those odds. You can spend your $2.99 or whatever, and good luck with that. And personally, if I was ordered by a government to wear a bandana to protect myself and I got sick, I would be suing the government. Call me vexatious and frivolous, but that just sounds like common sense to me. Scientists telling you a bandana is going to save your life against 200 million. What is that? Sue them. I take it, grab a good lawyer. But here is a really interesting science fact, which also raises questions about something else you may have heard on the news. Now, scientists have been examining viruses in virology and epidemiology. Big, technical words. Like we said, since the end of the 19th century. So they should have this pretty much down, unless somehow a novel coronavirus is so revolutionary that everything scientists thought they knew about viruses has suddenly changed. Game changer. It has been established, it's a medical fact, that generally a poison is most infectious and shooting off 200 million viruses, an entire nation of viruses, at the person in their face in machine gun fashion through 3,000 droplets at onset of infection. At the onset of infection. I guess like after that, asymptomatic period and during that, after that, incubation period, the early onset of infection, as the person becomes symptomatic, and the natural defense mechanism that we already have programmed into our body is trying to push that invisible enemy out in the first line of defense. But maybe, again, somehow, all by itself, the virus just decided to do something entirely new and just happened to be in China like the SARS virus, its close cousin, sharing almost 100% perfect match in nucleic acids, which they say, again, I'm not a scientist, doesn't happen very often. I believe the word that they use, scientists, is rare. Like we want to make abortion, safely and rare. I'm thinking, it doesn't happen often. But that's it for today in Science with the Faith Guy. I'm just another guy from Jersey, and before we leave, it is incumbent upon us, before we leave you in prayer to go with God, we should remind you to reiterate what the government says. Not what God says, but what the government says, that you are safe, perfectly safe, with a do-it-yourself mask. So go out, go grab your do-it-yourself mask, because the government says that you should do something stupid against particles being spewed against you in machine gun fashion and moving at you at 50 miles per hour, subcellular particles measuring less than 100 microns, and you know science, and you always do what the government says you do, because the doctors and whatever. But that's all for now. God go with you, and may He preserve your going out and coming in during a stay-at-home order from this day forward. Let us all say, I'm stuck in my house. Bye now. This advertisement was authorized by Mike Webb.